With the dirt, the seats, and the fuel tank removed, there are only two major assemblies left to deal with: the motor and the steering cable. The electrical should be a piece of cake after this. By now, townspeople are accustomed to seeing the D-Max with an extra motor in the back at the grocery store, post office, and parked across the street. With the extra weight, the truck rides better, but I do need to pick up a cedar chest, and this is a good time to do something with the 327. But what? Then there's the 305 in the boat. I was told it was stuck. Well, how bad is it? Rust? Spun bearings? Thrown rod? Of all the options, the quickest and simplest thing to do is to see if the crank turns and go from there. It's time to see if this motor is stuck, or if it is, it's how bad. And there's two holes in this sheave, but I don't have any way to put any pullers or pins in there at the moment. So what I thought I would do is at least attempt to turn it by turning the end of the crankshaft bolt that holds the sheaves all on, the balancer, and see what happens. It's 5/8. Probably come loose. Yep, it did. Okay, so that's loose. The next thing then would be to take these three bolts out. They're 9/16, and see if we can, if this water pump flange will come loose. Oh, by the way, I took the belt off in case it needed to turn backwards, or I wanted to check and see how these impellers were in here, how the impeller was. So I'm going to now try to get these, knock these three bolts loose and see what happens. And if I can get this off, then I can build something to go back in those two holes, because they're back inside this pulley, and it's just going to cause grief to try to build anything. So here we go. Right, one came loose. There we go. Oh, that one's loose. That one was really loose. Okay, we're on that one. Oh, we turned the motor. Let's try that again. Sounds like the starter's engaged. Ah! Oh! So it does turn. It's not completely stuck. Let's try one more. See if that bolt might come loose then. Now, yeah, it came loose. All right, let's see if that sheave will come loose and get it out of the way. At least it turned once. Let's see if we can get that crankshaft bolt loose and rattle that pulley. Yeah, it's going to come loose. I'll just turn off the camera and I'll get it loose off of there and show you what it looks like. Actually, we'll just go ahead and take these loose and show you the whole thing. That's got a nice bolt, big springy washer, and we'll pull these bolts out. I'm just getting used to shooting how much video I think y'all may want to see and how much it is in real time. I never did like that fast motion thing. It's so unrealistic. My experiences in watching movies and producing industrial videos that try to duplicate and show you exactly what has to happen. There we go. Okay, now the idea will be to put something in, maybe in these two holes. I'm thinking some pins to go in here and try rotating it. So I'm going to go into the shop and see what I can find. Well, I found a longer bolt, and so what I'm going to do, I'll put one of the original ones back in a bottom hole, and this longer one in the side hole. If I can get it in there. to tighten it up a bit. Make sure it's got some threads in there. This is not metric. Okay, that should do it. Now we're going to take the pry bar and see if we can get it to turn over a little more. Oh yeah. Okay, that's excellent news. So the next thing to do is put in a battery and see if the engine will turn over. And at that point, we can check and see if we have any spark. Before connecting the battery, the cable ends needed to be replaced. And the ignition switch wouldn't turn, so a new one was installed. When the battery was installed, there was no power to the ignition switch. And we'll give the key a try. The fuse block had corrosion where the fuse goes and also at the connector to the ignition wire. Then the ignition switch was working, as shown on the voltmeter, and it was time to try the starter. Checking the starter relay, it was wired in reverse, and the I post went to ground, and a white wire, usually white as ground from what I've seen so far, went to S. I'd picked up a new relay at Napa, so decided to put a new one on before going any further. Would need good electrics with whichever motor was going to go in here. Now try the starter again. Hey, it turns over. Look at that again. All right, excellent news. While I'm on a roll, let's see if there's any spark. Nope, nothing. A call to my boy, my advisor, identified the probable cause was the Holley gold box he'd had experience with on his International Scout. He suggested looking into the Pertronix electronic ignition and getting rid of the gold box and its problems. After talking with Frank at Pertronix and sending pictures of my Dizzy, he said the Igniter 2, number 91589, was the one to order. This is the box I got from Pertronix. The Igniter 2 electronic ignition. The box says never change points again. The model I got was a 91589. Let me get that. It comes with some instructions, the mounting plate, igniter, and this is called the magnet sleeve. Let's see if I can show you there. It goes over the distributor shaft onto the reluctor. There's these little indentations here, which we'll go over those. This is particularly designed for the press-to-light distributor that we have. It actually looks too easy. You just put it in and hook up 2 wires to the coil. That's it. We'll see how it works. Okay, first thing I want to do is take the battery loose. Just in case. So I'll take the little gold box, finish taking it off. I'd loosen the screw up a little bit. This is the box that's been leaking and is prone to leaking. It's popular on the 70s International Scouts, and we're not going to need it anymore. Just we'll keep the screw with it. Just we'll put it on the shelf just so we can have it to use it again if we need to. Okay, we'll pull this loose and we can get it out of there. So the next step is to take the negative wire off the coil, which goes to the box. And then the positive side. These are 3/8. Take that pink or whatever color wire that is, stash the nut back there. Now it's time to pull the distributor cap. There's one of them. The second one. And there, the cap is free. And we'll pull the rotor and the weather cap with the moisture cap, I suppose, with a gasket around it. Looks kind of rough. The next thing they say to do is to take the mounting plate out. Don't drop the screws down in the internals of the distributor. Now let's see if this will lift out. Pull the wire. Oh, it came right out. Okay. There, it's free. Let's see if everything is able to move in here. Yeah, appears to be. Okay. Alright, so here's the new module. And the instructions say to just replace it. And we'll put the screws in, being careful not to drop them down in a hole. Take your time. It's a lot better to spend a little bit more time getting them started than it is to fish them out. And the instructions say to put the magnet over the reluctor, to rotate it slightly until you feel it go over the reluctor. Press it down into place. That's it. Okay, route the wire. The problem I'm having with the grommet is that the long side is down, and this stands up way above the rim. All I had to do was snip off the lower tang on the grommet, and while I was at it, I drilled an 1/8" hole in the base plate and used the clip from the old plate to hold the wires. There we go. Okay, and then this will go with the igniter tube plate in place, it's time to put the magnet on. And they say to just push it down, turn it a little bit till it engages the reluctor, and then just press it down into place. So now it's time to put the weather shield under the cap. I'm not sure just what else to call it, but it will tend to keep the fumes, if they build up in there, out. Put our rotor back down, and replace the distributor cap. When I'm done fiddling with this distributor cap, it'll be time to get this episode uploaded. In the next show, it'll be time to test start the mill. Don't miss it. As the hole in the water is expected to get deeper, subscribe and submit your questions, comments, and what you'd like to see more of, and I'll try to make it happen. Thanks for watching.